Flexible as possible.
Whatever you want me to talk about, I'm happy to talk about it. It's completely cool with me.
What, shall I
have an opinion on it, it's fine.
I may introduce that as a second question if that's okay.
Just second question, alright.
Do you mind?
No, I don't mind.
You were in the flow.
It's fine.
I'll just try and pick that up. So I'm going to ask you a bit about your journey if that's okay.
How long have we got?
So tell us when we're going to start. 5, 4...
Oh, it's recording now, so...
Yeah.
Go! That's it!
Well, thank you so much. Paul, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're terribly excited to have you here because we know you've done some amazing stuff and you're out there big, bold and brave and doing some amazing stuff for businesses. So we're pretty excited to hear what you've got to share with us.
It's been a long time since anyone said I was big. But anyway, all right.
I apologise.
How
about slim and bold? You know what I mean. Would you like to maybe start by telling us a bit about your journey as an entrepreneur and what that's involved?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think my journey's been an interesting one in terms of I was always at odds with a lot of the world, and I think part of being an entrepreneur is that you have to be okay with being an individual. You have to be okay with not being the same as everybody else, and that can be really hard, especially growing up, especially being young. I didn't really fit in at school, even though, did relatively well, particularly interestingly in team sports, team events, stuff that related to team, and which makes a lot more sense now given what I do for a living. Ended up running a number of different companies by the time I was 26, including a family-run business for a while with my father, and that was an interesting experience. Later to learn that he was a Lord profile and I was a creator, which is probably why we didn't get on quite so well for periods of that journey. And then becoming part of a team that built a £15 million business in 18 months when I was in my 20s. So, which is great, it's fantastic, and but you don't really realise what made it work at that point. And we went from 0 to 460 employees and all of that good things. And that's one side of the journey. The other side of the journey is that during that period, got divorced because I worked too hard. Then ended up losing all the money about 3 years later when I invested it in stuff I didn't understand. And then without really, my journey really for the last 15 years now has been one of business coaching and really trying to understand what's the difference between a good business and a great business. And I've been fortunate to work with over 3,500 entrepreneurs, really realising for me that the difference between people who really make it and don't is usually down to their ability to do two things, or in my opinion, three things. Number one is you've got to be able to build a high performing team, right? If you can't build a high performing team, you're never going to really scale. I say to people that stop trying to have a dream and start building a team, right? And it is that ability to put together the right people around you, because none of us, no matter what our vision is, are going to pull it off without help of other people. That's just the reality, right? So that's one. Second is the ability to manage cash and hang on to it. Been too many businesses in my career where I haven't hung on to the cash, and that's cost me personally, emotionally, financially, and those kind of things. And I think the other thing for me is it's about this idea of really tapping into what your true talent is, as opposed to trying to be good at everything. I think there is a dangerous myth out there that in order to be successful, bless you, you need to be good at everything, and it's just not true. And in fact, the more people try to be good at everything, the more they actually end up becoming burnt out, tired, exhausted, those kind of things. Now, I'm very fortunate today. I've got 2 successful businesses, I've got a great team, but less than 4 years ago this year, I suffered, having spent a period of my life, about 4 or 5 years, not understanding my profile, not understanding this concept of me versus we, and I was very much about me, and I'm the speaker, I'm the coach, I'm the trainer, whatever, and that resulted in me having a fairly serious illness. In fact, I had a serious asthma attack that resulted in me having a full-blown heart attack at the age of 42. I was clinically dead for 4.5 minutes. If it wasn't for an amazing paramedic who didn't give up on me, I wouldn't be here today. And that was I think we could safely say it was a fairly traumatic experience. And I decided that I'd clearly if that was feedback, the way I was doing it wasn't working. So what about if I spend the next 5, 10, 15 years of my life really understanding what I've been good at, and then build a team to do everything else. And that's really been the last 3 or 4 years, certainly the last 3 years of my life has been that, and talent dynamics has played a massive part in that. And then, going from that to being a flow consultant, performance consultant, global partner, and now #1 global partner in the world with Team Dynamics and teamdynamics.com. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, no, thank you. But it isn't. The key thing here is that it really isn't all me. It's a team effort, right? I didn't do that on my own. I tried it on my own, and it literally nearly killed me. So I have a huge empathy with what you do, massively, right? Because I know what it's like to come 30 seconds from brain damage. So, this is what we were talking about before about the entrepreneurial journey. It's easy to buy into the glitz of what it looks like. The reality of it is you have to have a hell of a lot of resilience, because it is going to beat you black and blue at times. And your ability is, can you get up tomorrow and do it again with a smile on your face, even though you went to bed feeling like you'd just been beaten up for 12 hours or whatever. So there are days like that, and nobody sees that. Nobody sees those. Nobody sees the late nights, the early mornings, the worries about cash flow. What we see is the end product. We see the successful business, entrepreneur and brand. We never see the process, right? So it's a lot of people want the end product, but they don't want to do the hard work, right? When you find out what that's like, I was talking to a client of mine today, and we said, it's really funny when most people find out what the price of success is, they don't want to pay it, right? So if you want to get fit and healthy and you have a six-pack and the trainer says, yeah, you got to give up all this food, you got to work out this many hours a day, and this is what it takes, and you go, yeah, no thanks, I'm okay with how I look, right? And it's true. And someone says, well, you want to build a really successful business, it's going to take work on yourself, it's going to take building a team, it's going to take raising money, investors, learning a whole bunch of skills you don't have right now. That's what it's going to take. For a lot of people, that price is just too hard, and they'd rather sit and go, oh, well, I'd like to be that, but I can't, because whatever the stories they want to tell themselves.
So would you say that would you say, because I've just thought about something I read this morning about you have to become a different person in the future to actually be better at what you're doing. I mean, what are your thoughts? Were you a different person 5 years ago?
I was a different person 3 weeks ago. I think you're either growing or you're dying. Nature's law, not mine or nature's law. And as human beings, we're either getting better or we're going backwards, right? And businesses, it's about your ability to acquire skills, consistently acquiring new skills. So if you can't do that, you're gonna be outworked, outcompeted. It's not about what you do; it's about who you become. The old equation of be times do equals have. If you want to have a different outcome, you're going to have to do some different stuff. But Deepak Chopra says this best, we're human beings, not human doings. Yeah. It's about you becoming a better person, you developing a set of skills that you don't have right now so that you can get a result that you want that you can't get right now.
Thank you.
If that answers your question.
It does, actually. Thanks very much. I do have another one, if that's okay.
Sure.
And that is to do with advice. If you had one piece of advice that you would give, and it's the only piece of advice you could give to an entrepreneur, what would it be?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, the only piece of advice?
The most important piece of advice.
That's so hard, because I think we all want to make life really simple. I think we want to go, well, here's the one thing you need to learn, here's the one strategy, and in my experience, life isn't that simple. But for me, I think if I was going to say to an entrepreneur, the one piece of advice I would give them is figure out what you're good at and learn to do three things: delegate, outsource, or automate everything else. And in order to do that, you're going to need to build a team to delegate, you'll need to hire people to outsource stuff to, and you're going to need to understand technology to automate it. You don't have to understand it, you're going to need to understand the technology, but get someone else to do it. So if you can't understand the concept of leveraging everything and talent and build a team around you, you will not pull off what you are trying to pull off. The bigger the dream, the bigger the team. The bigger the dream, the better the team you attract. That's something I've learned, is that the minute your vision gets bigger, you attract people who want to play a bigger game. When you just want to survive as an entrepreneur and go, I just want to survive, then you attract people who just want to work for someone who wants to survive, right? So if you want to get better people, have a better vision. So yeah, my firm belief is that most entrepreneurs fail not because of lack of drive, not because of lack of effort. It's either because they don't ask for help, they isolate themselves, and they don't understand who they need around them to magnify their own value to pull off what they want to do. And you're listening to a team game upstairs, right? So there's a team game going on right here. None of those players would be at this World Cup on their own, and none of them would work. It's a team, right? And we all get inspired when we see teams perform at a high level, because for us, it's so rare to see it, right? It's rare to see it, and when you see it, you get inspired by it, because it doesn't happen very often. We all go through most of our working life and probably work in one or two teams where we really felt we fitted in, and we remember that. And most of us are trying to get back to that. When I remember it when I was in my 20s. Absolutely part of a world-class team that built something incredible in a ridiculous pace of time. That emotion stays with you forever. So learn that skill, because if you don't, you're going to struggle.
That's an amazing piece of and very valuable piece of advice. Thank you. I'd be interesting to know your views on the importance of mindset. So it has been said that to be successful, 80% is actually mindset. What are your views on that?
Probably understated. It's probably more. It's and I think so. There's this whole thing. It's all about mindset. It often. That for me, that word gets abused because people go, it's mindset. It's sort of think positively, right? I think it's probably more about resilience, actually, and that's a mental skill, the ability to just deal with stuff and the ability to be flexible, because I guarantee the way most entrepreneurs learn is that we don't study, then go apply. We go apply, get beat up, and then go, ow, that didn't work. What did I learn, right? That's how we very much learn by doing. But for me, I talk about if you think about a seesaw, right, that on one end of the seesaw, if we use your wonderful book, if we use this as a second, if it's a seesaw, one end is mindset, one end is skill set. Most people spend most of their time developing lots and lots of skills, and the seesaw ends up like this, and they can't figure out why they're not getting further ahead. And yet somebody else comes along with less skills and seemingly less talent, and then build something way better than they are, and they're like, well, what's that about? And it's because they had the right mindset. They were focused on the right intention. First of all, they wanted to create something bigger, and they were happy to be okay being uncomfortable. As one of my favourite quotes is, "The level of your success will be determined by how comfortable you can be being uncomfortable." If you're not uncomfortable every single day, you're not growing. And it's true, right? How comfortable can you get? It's not comfortable being an entrepreneur, right? It isn't. You're going to need to talk to people you don't want to talk to. You're going to have to talk to unhappy customers, possibly. Suppliers are going to let you down. Banks are going to pull your overdraft. If you're in the game long enough, you're going to have all of that and more, right? So are you going to be able to be uncomfortable with being out of your comfort zone? If you run a business, at some point you will have a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock when you have no idea how you're going to make payroll with 1 hour to go, right? If you are in the game long enough, you will live that. And if you can't handle that and be okay to keep thinking about, okay, I've got 1 hour, how am I going to figure this out? If you quit on that, if you go, well, it's just the way it is, right, you're dead. The minute you give up like that, you're done. Because your team see that in you and they don't want to work for you. Because if you give up even for a second, they don't want to work for people like that.
This is incredible stuff. Thank you so much. I do have another question for you, if that's okay. So another thing that I've noticed is that most of the most successful entrepreneurs like yourself do have some sort of morning ritual. Do you think that's important? Yeah. And what are we allowed to find out is yours?
Yeah, no, I'll share mine. Yeah. Okay, so all right. Without question, the first hour to an hour and a half of the day is the most important time of the day, right? And what you do with it will define. For example, what you do with it can have an impact of between 30 and 40% on your productivity, period, right? So if you look at your day as an entrepreneur and you're busy, if I said to you there's one thing you could do that if you stop doing it, it would give you 30% more outcome and productivity in your day, would you do it? You'd go, yeah, of course I would, right? And I said, well, it's going to start with you getting up early, and you're going to go, oh, I was hoping you wouldn't say that, kind of like my bed. And you go, well, yeah, but the reality is that to get where you want to go, you're going to have to do stuff you don't do, right? So I set myself a challenge about 6 months ago as a guy, massive fan of the wrestler, the movie star, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? Big, yeah, follow him on Instagram and stuff. And he has a routine, which is he gets up at 4:30 every morning. And like, to me, that was just insane. Like, what kind of lunatic would do that, right? And then you look at his output and you look at his life and you go, all right. And you go, I'm going to do that. I'm going to commit to doing that, right? I'm going to use, I said, I'm going to commit to doing that. And see what that's about, right? So you have to start with that intention, and you do day one, and you wake up and you go, oh, this that's pretty horrible, right? What, 4:30 in the morning? Who invented that time, right? And you kind of like, and you have this battle where you have to go through this you have to tap into something called activation energy, right? And there's a great speaker in America called Mel Robbins who talks about this principle called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, right? And you got 5 seconds to move, do something, or your subconscious shuts you down and goes, yeah, don't do it because it's stay in the bed, right? So you've got a 5-second battle with yourself every time the clock goes, right? And I was like, okay. So anyway, so started doing that. Now, I'll be honest, the first 4 to 6 weeks were brutally hard. They're horrible because you're not used to it. You're not used to, you still have the habit, or I did, of working late or doing that. And it just, so it's all out of kink. So you're getting up early and doing this stuff, and then you're still working maybe till 6 or 7 at night. And then, I just got fatigued. I was exhausted, right? And I was like, but I'm going to commit to keep going even though it's uncomfortable. And I think a lot of us, sometimes when it gets uncomfortable, we go, I'll just go back to what I was doing before because it's getting too hard. But there's a point, change takes longer than you think it's going to take. Any change, right? And you know, when I coach clients, one of the things I say is, look, for the first 90 days, no one's going to see any difference in anything you're doing other than you, but you'll see it. After about 90 days, your team will start to notice that you've changed and the way you're running the business is starting to change. After about 6 months, people in your life will start to notice it. And after about a year, your accountant will notice it. Right? But it'll take him a year. And up to that point, he'll be skeptical as anything. Right? So it's just change takes time to impact people. So started doing that. And then so the way it operates now is, and I haven't woken up to an alarm clock for nearly 6 months. Right, I don't. My body's now, I've done this so much, so I wake up at 4:30 without an alarm. Didn't set an alarm this morning, right? So the first half an hour for me, I wake up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Get out of bed nice and quiet so I don't disturb my wife, right? Get out of bed. And then I'll go into my my bedroom, and I've got a yoga mat, and I've got meditation, meditation sort of seat, I sit on. And I will do 10 minutes plus, usually about 12 to 15 minutes of just breathing and meditation, right? Just in the quiet, there's nobody else up, there's no noise, there's no distractions, the house is quiet. That 15 minutes is when I'm trying to rewire. What you're trying to do during that period is you're not trying to, there's a difference between getting still and getting silent. You're not trying to quieten your brain down, you're just trying to keep it still, right? And you will have thoughts, and that's cool. But you're trying to help your brain find new neural pathways, and you can't do it when it's busy. So you need that quiet time. I'll then, because I do this because if you've got dogs or anything like that, the first thing they do in the morning is they stretch, right? So why do we as humans get out of bed and think that doesn't apply to us, right? So I'll then spend 15 minutes stretching. So that's pretty much the first half hour of my day, right? Notice at this point, at no point have I said I pick up my phone, check my email, right? Or reply to text, or I don't know, right? I'm off the digital world for at least the first hour of the day, right? Because that'll impact your productivity by 30% straight away. All the research says if you open your emails in the first hour of the day, you kill your productivity by 30%, just there, right? So then I'll come downstairs. I like one of my treats in the mornings. I have a cappuccino. I'll make a cappuccino for my wife. Take my wife up, give her a nice peck on the cheek, give her a cappuccino. She'll normally go back to sleep, but that's fine. Right, but I take the cappuccino up, a couple of boy points early in the day is always a good thing, I find, in a marriage, right? Boy points before 6 o'clock is good in my book, right? And then, and then depending on what day of the week it is, will depend on what happens next. If I've got, say, trains to catch or stuff like that, I'll usually go walk the dog. So I'm going to nature, so I want to try and connect with nature. So I go for a half an hour walk in the woods or whatever. Or if I'm doing strength and conditioning, and I'll go hit the gym for an hour 4 days a week, and I'll hit the gym. So that's the first hour and a half of pretty much the hour. Then I'm back for breakfast, and then having had breakfast with my wife, I'll then shower, change, and then I'll start my day. So between 4:30 and 7:30, that's all me. That's my time, right? I'm not checking emails. I don't have email on my phone. I haven't had any email on my phone for 3 years. And it's about, I took it off 3 years ago. 30 days of horror ensued. So what if I missed something? After 30 days, I haven't missed anything. I was like, all right, let's go another 30 days and see if the world doesn't end, right? Now, just to be fair, my email, I have a wonderful trader in my life, Leslie, who manages my email if something emergency came up. But I tell all my clients, do not email if you need me, text me. I'm not on email. I don't have it on my phone. So I'm not even tempted to go check it, right? So, because I know that would be an addiction for me, a very easy one to get into. So that's what my first kind of hour and a half of every day looks like. And people say, so what happens on the weekend? Do you lie in? And I'm like, No. I do the same thing on the weekend. I might maybe get up at 5 as opposed to 4:30, but my body's just so used to this. Now, the only way it works is that if you then go to sleep at a scheduled time as well, right? So I think I said it to you, one of my favourite questions is to ask yourself in the morning, what time of work do I want to stop work? What time in the day am I going to stop work tonight? And you ask that question in the morning and then you decide what time it is, regardless of whether you finish stuff or not. Because otherwise entrepreneurs just will go and go and go and go and go, and eventually it's 1 in the morning, and now try getting up at 4:30, it's a nightmare. So for me it's like, right, so for me my digital detox stops at 9. This goes off at 9 o'clock. Then it'll be, I'll start to just wind down for the evening and all those kind of things, and then I'll do some more stretching before bed, and I'll reflect, I'll write in my gratitude journal, I'll log what was great, what did I learn that day, what was great, what were the wins. And then so I'm in bed by 10 o'clock at night, right? And then my goal is to be asleep by 10:22, because it's a very spiritual number, 22. So sometimes I'm a bit later than that, but 9 times out of 10 I'm out by 10:15. So by the time 4:30 rolls around, I've had 6 hours. So I'm good to go, right? I'm cool with that. And you just feel so much more capable of going out into the world and dealing with whatever the world throws at you if you've had that grounding experience. If I missed that, it would genuinely throw me off massively. So yeah, that was the hardest thing I did in last year, was to start because I started it going into the winter, which was really dumb. Like, I started in the winter when it's cold, wet, miserable, rather than do it in the summer where it's easy. So start it now. Do it in the summer. Start now. But yeah, so first hour of the day. And it's critical, I think, in that first couple of hours not to let any negative input from the outside world in. So don't check news. You've got to protect your mentality. You've got to have one of my friends says it calls a mentality shield. You've got to protect yourself from there's so much negativity out there. You've got to protect it. And that first 2 hours has got to be you tapping into a power far greater than you to help you do what you want to do that day, right? And then what happens after that is then it's game on, right?
So I think that what you've just said is really important. I think very often people underestimate the importance of those first 2 hours, because it literally can actually set you up for the day, or actually take away your energy for the rest of the day. So that's really invaluable. So has anyone got any other questions that you'd like to ask?
So absorbed in what you're saying. I want to agree with the morning thing. But I need 8 hours sleep. If I don't get full 8 hours, it's troublesome. So about knowing as well how many hours you do need.
Yeah, it's what you need for you. I need 6. 6 is good for me. I'm good with 6. That's just me.
Women struggle more with sleep, don't they? And they get grumpy. Maybe they don't have enough sleep. But yeah, it's a good thing to have, a routine, isn't it?
It's hard because I'm a creator profile, so routine is not something I naturally embrace easily, because I like to change it a lot. But actually, that's been one of the big learnings for me over the last couple of years, is having a rhythm and just get. And there are days when it's difficult. There are days when I could get up and quite easily make excuses of, I've got that big proposal to do, I've got that thing to get back for a client, I'll just jump on and do it. And that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 battle you got to have with yourself, to go, no, sit down, do 12 minutes of meditation. Sit down, do it. That's the constant thing we're all coming up against, the little voice that would give us permission to not do what we know we should do.
You never ever break it.
Well, the meditation app that I use, it counts how many consecutive days. So no, it's not Headspace actually. I've used Headspace. It's one of those, but it's got a tracker of how many days you've done it consecutively. So now the competitive side of my brain does not want to miss a day, because I do not want to have to start that again, right? I'm at 70 or whatever days, or however many days it is, or whatever. There's no way in the world I'm going to miss that now. It's that would be horrible to have to go back to 0, right? So it's like understanding things that motivate you as well. Like that for me is it's not a tick, but it's just fun to go, come on, what's going to happen when you hit 500 days? What will that be like? How will that have changed me as a person? And just, I think you've got to be. I think one of the things that my entrepreneurial journey has taught me is just learn to roll with it a lot more and don't take it so seriously. Stuff's going to go wrong, right? If you're going to do anything, it's going to go wrong, and it's not the stuff you see coming you want to worry about. It's the stuff you don't see coming. It's the stuff that you never even think about that will be the stuff that knocks you off your feet, and you'll have to recover from and go, wow, So, my wife had a serious brain injury 3 years ago. was in a coma. That came out of nowhere, right? And that's the stuff that's going to take every bit of your resilience as an entrepreneur. When life hits you with stuff like that, you've still got to get up and do it. You've still got to go look after your customers. You've still got to manage the cash flow. You've got to now look after a family. You know, that nobody knocks up and goes, I'll pay your bills for 6 months while you just, you know, deal with that stuff. You know, sorry, you have to deal with all of that stuff. And that's where that ability to just be resilient enough to go, okay, fine, I control the controllables. One of my favorite things to teach clients is control the controllables. What I learned when my wife was ill was, what are the 3 things that I can control today? Everything else I can't control, I let go of, and I have to let go of that. I'll do the things I can control. Everything else is out. I got to let go of it.
That's your support system, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 hours in the morning.
Yeah. Now I didn't have it then. I just didn't have it then, you know. But actually, I used to get up and walk the dog first thing before I took my son to school. But you know, I was taking my son to school. The interesting thing was, during that experience, I could only work for 6 hours a day. That because by the time I'd done school runs and all that, and we sat down as a team, and we did. I don't think I've ever told this, but we did a SWOT analysis on my life when my wife got sick, right? Because it was the only way I could process what to do with it. It's like, right, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats? What were all the threats, right? You know, there were 5 on there, and right, okay, well, I'll take that one, you take this one, I'll do this one, right? And then so what are the opportunities? Well, the opportunity is to help her, to do this, to do that. What are the threats? One of the threats was that when clients found out she was ill, they were all like, well, I'll leave. Don't worry, you don't need to work with me anymore. I'll give you some time. No, still got bills to pay, still got a life to lead. Thank you very much. And I don't want to sit at home and just worry. Thanks very much. That's no. So we had to manage. You know, you have to manage all that. They meant well, but it was just like, no, we still have to carry on, right? So it was just that kind of stuff. And then we looked at which bits of my life you could systemize. We could systemize the shopping. Yeah. So right, that was easy, right? That was a quick one, right? So let's build a system, fill in the app. Leslie would order it on a Tuesday, I'd get it on a Wednesday. So that was that bit taken go. And then there was just things you could look at in my home life and go, how could we systemize it to make it more efficient? Because I only had 6 hours a day. The result was that, in spite of my wife being in a coma and then in hospital for 3 months, and me going every night with my son to the hospital for at least 6 of those weeks, the following 3 to 6 months, the business had 3 of its fastest growing months in the previous 4 years. So how do you do that, right? And it wasn't me, it was because we just went, everyone just does what they're good at, and I've only got 6 hours a day, which means every hour has to count. And it's really funny, when you have less time, you do only high value stuff. When you go, I can work till 1 in the morning, then you do loads of rubbish that you should outsource, delegate, or not be doing at all, frankly. So yeah, it's, you know, life is a roller coaster. I think you have to learn to ride it and enjoy it whenever it's going up or going down, because it will go up and it will go down. It's just learn to scream on the way up and down and have fun with it, whether it's going your way or not. It's just, if you can do that, you'll be all right as an entrepreneur. If you take it too seriously, and I did, it will literally nearly kill you. It will literally nearly kill you.
What about your journal as well? Would you mind me asking about that?
Yeah. Sure.
Your journal, you said you write the negatives and positives.
No, I log the learnings. So I always go on, as a gratitude journal. So I do a gratitude. I have an app on there that allows me to take 3 pictures a day and then log 5 things I'm grateful for that day. And that's just a discipline now I do every night of going to bed. And so during the day, I'm looking for what are three things I could take a photograph of that are cool that happened today. Just because I'm trying to be, and what that does is it makes me much more conscious and present to what's going on around me. So that's a way of staying engaged. And then in the evening, I write 5 things that I was grateful for that day. And then for me, I just keep a different log of, right, what did I learn today? What did I learn that I can apply tomorrow that will make me be a better leader, better speaker, better trainer, better coach, better business person, whatever the identity is. But what did I learn today, right? And you learn stuff. Everything teaches you, even if it teaches you what not to do again, it teaches you stuff, right? So it's like, if you don't capture those, then you're not taking advantage of this opportunity called today, because you didn't grow in the way that you could have done, if that makes sense, right? All right. Good question.
Entrepreneur question at the beginning. An entrepreneur and a tripreneur.
Entrepreneur.
Oh yes. So yeah, I think someone asked that earlier. So we were discussing what the difference is between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur, I think was the question. Have you got any comments on that one?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who want to do it and don't. And actually, I had a conversation with a client of mine today. Actually, we were talking about this, and he was saying, the most scary thing he ever did was give up a £350,000 a year job to start his business. And we were talking about how money is an addiction, kind of as bad as heroin, in that, not that I've done heroin, just to be clear, right? I haven't, ever, right? But money, people get addicted to his paycheck every month. It's like a hit. And they get it, and it's like that's like their release for the next they can live for the next 2 or 3 weeks because they get the hit, and then they get addicted again, and then you can see it in people. Week 3 they get really nervous now because it's like a week to go before they get paid, and you can see it. It's literally like a craving cash. And when you start a business, all of that disappears. You have no idea whether you're going to get money this week or next. You've got to go out and make a sale and deliver value, and then you've got to get paid, and this massive level of uncertainty it's like the going the cold turkey bit. Most people can't handle that, and their fear of that is almost worse than the fear of failing, of what if it doesn't work out. It's the fear of what if I don't have any money coming in and I can't feed that thing every month. And the other thing is that most of us gear our life up to whatever level of income we've got. So if you own 350,000, you're probably living at a 350,000 pound lifestyle, right? Aston Martin, big house, 5 holidays a year. Guess what? There's no cash left. So we tend to gear up. And I've done that, or overgear it, where we gear up to what we're making or more, and then that just creates an even greater pressure loop. So I think it's about, if you're going to start a business, it's about taking your expenses down as low as you possibly can, and going, look, my job is to manage cash. The businesses go bust, in my experience, not because they're not good ideas, it's because they run out of money. They run out of cash, and growth sucks cash, and most people do not understand how much cash it takes to really scale. And it's going to take more than you think, and it's going to be a lot longer to get your money back than you think, and people underestimate that. I have, and when it really goes, suddenly the cash gets just consumed because you need to fund it with people and product or software or whatever. And if you don't have that skill, I say that entrepreneurs, kind of money is, there's 5 skills around money. There's the skill of how to make it, that's one skill, and we get really good at that as entrepreneurs because I can sell this, I can make money. Then the skill of hanging on to it, completely different skill set, right? And then there's the skill of investing it, and there's the skill of raising it. Because at some point you're probably going to need to raise money if you want to grow and get as big as you possibly can. To a certain point, you're going to, whether it's from family and friends or whether it's from a bank, or you're going to need to learn the skill of being able to raise money. So you've got to learn to invest it, to raise it, to make it, to keep it. They're 4 different skills, and most of us think the only skill I need to manage it would be the other one, so that you manage it from a cash flow. That's the 5. But most of us only think, well, I just need the skill of being able to make money, right? No, you're going to need all 5 skills, and very few people ever really look at, do I understand all of those 5 skills? Because at some point I'm going to need all of them, or I'm certainly going to need help from people who understand them more than I do, right? So, yeah, manage cash, because it's oxygen. Right, cash is oxygen to a business. You run out of cash, you will be gone in weeks, days. So there you go. Anyway,
and this is the last question. I keep saying this is the last one, but if there's one thing you'd like to make sure that every entrepreneur listens very carefully to as a piece of advice, what would that be? I'll say what I say at the end of every seminar and everything I ever say, which is you get paid and where you get done. Nobody cares about what you talk about you're going to do. Nobody cares about, I'm going to write a book. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about, I'm going to build a business. Nobody cares, right? You get paid and where you get done. Implementation drives income, and your ability to execute is going to be your single number one competitive advantage. I drill it into clients all the time, and they laugh at me, but they say it. You get paid and what you get done. There isn't any other metric. Nobody cares about anything else. That's the difference between those who can execute and are here 10 years later, these wonderful people, right, or not. It's your ability to get it done. When you've got tons of reasons not to, or loads of distractions, can you execute? Simple as that. Yeah. So that's my tip: is you get paid and what you get done. And if people want to follow you, do you have an Instagram account? Or
I do, I do have an Instagram.
Do you want to maybe give us some, because I'm sure after this interview, if anyone is able to actually hear it, I'm sure they'd love to be following you. Yeah. You've given us some amazing pieces of advice this evening. Thank you. Cool. So maybe I'll just pass you on.
Well, I'm luckily, because I'm blessed with an unusual name in it. Paul Avins is fairly unusual, so it's quite easy to find me in terms of social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, those are platforms I hang out. quite a lot. Don't tend to do Twitter, if I'm honest, but I tend to very much be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or you can go to paulavins.com, or you can go to teamdynamics.com. If you go to teamdynamics.com, there are tons of resources. There are loads of free videos, ebooks, mind maps. If you want to build a team, there's a whole 45-minute training that you don't need to opt in to get. You can just go watch about the 5 steps it takes to build a high-performing team. So if that's something that's resonated for you, and you can get a 46-page ebook and a 3-part video coaching course from me for free. So just go there and you can get all that stuff for free. You don't have to pay me any money for that. But my passion is to help entrepreneurs understand how to lead and build high-performing teams, because teamwork makes the dream work, right? So there you go. Teamdynamics.com for that one.
Teamdynamics.com, everybody. And can I just say, Paul, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time, your information, and you've just been amazing. So thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you ever so much for having me.